Why take one vacation with the family when you could take all of them? With Royal Caribbean, you don't just go to the beach. You visit a private island and race down the tallest water slide in North America. You don't just go for a road trip. You ATV and zip line through the jungle. You don't just go somewhere new. You rappel down waterfalls and discover ancient temples. Because this isn't just any vacation. This is all the vacations. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
Hey there! Did you know Baker's always gives you savings and rewards on top of our lower than low prices? And when you download the Baker's app, you'll enjoy over $500 in savings every week with digital coupons. And don't forget fuel points to help you save up to $1 per gallon at the pump. Want to save even more? With a Boost membership, you'll get double fuel points and free delivery. So shop and save big at Baker's today. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
This episode is brought to you by Pepsi Wild Cherry. Pepsi Wild Cherry is bursting with delicious cherry flavor and a sweet, crisp taste that gives you more to go wild for. Getting wild may look different these days, but whether it's opting for a solo Friday binge watch or a big night out, everyone can indulge in their wild side with Pepsi Wild Cherry. Also available in Zero Sugar. So grab a Pepsi Wild Cherry and get wild.
Everyone, welcome back to part 2 of our weekly mailbag segment. It is just Snail and I this evening here for part 2, but Garrett did submit his answers to us. He is currently at this time sitting in a tattoo artist chair, getting what I am assuming is a Chippendale tattoo directly up and down his chest. So a big Magic Mike fan. Maybe it's just Channing Tatum and Magic Mike. I don't know. He'll have to explain to us when he rejoins us next week. So if it's not that, he lied to us. But other than that, Snell, before we get into the questions here, how's your Thursday going?
It's going good. It's been a good Thursday so far. I am excited to get to these questions. I also am excited to see this tattoo that Garrett's getting because I don't know if he has other tattoos. How many tattoos do you have, Robbie?
I have 0.
You have 0? I have several. I have a lot.
Okay.
I have not, and none of them are. I have one professionally done tattoo. The rest of them were done after many beers in my friend's attic. And yeah, like I have a tramp stamp
oh geez,
I have a peace sign tramp stamp. Yeah, so that's kind of like the direction I went with my tattoos in my younger age. This was when I was, this was probably 10 years ago. So I'm really curious to see what Garrett's got. And if anyone listens to this before we get a chance of confirmation from Garrett on what it is, can we get some like Twitter replies, like people that are listening to this, just like, what do you think Garrett's getting tattooed? Based on what you know of our esteemed colleague, what do you think it is that he's getting posted on his chest or maybe his lower back? In location, what is he getting, and location of the body?
Yes, if you get both parts right, we'll send you nothing.
We'll just stickers.
Yeah, we'll give you a sticker maybe. We'll definitely give you a shot. So yeah, send them in to our Twitter account, and we will read them off. If you don't feel like reaching out to Twitter, or you can't find our account, just hit up me or Snail on Twitter as well. We will read them on air next week when we all reconvene for another mailbag. But in Garrett's presence, yes. All right, so that out of the way, we'll get into the questions here. We have 15 for part 2 here. I'll take question 1 from Brian here. If you're given the option, would you choose to go to Key West or San Diego? So 2 cities. Well, Key West is more of an island chain. It is a city, but it's more of an island chain at the bottom of Florida, and San Diego all the way out in California. and I've never been to either. Which one would I go to? Tough question because like two very different cities. Um, I'm a beach guy, a quiet beach guy, so maybe Key West would be better for me. But at the same time, I'm not a humidity guy. If I had to pick though, between those two right now, I'd probably say just based on my mood, I'd probably say Key West. Take a flight down there, just relax on the beach. I know people have gone there. There's a lot of good food down there. San Diego is a place I do want to go. But right now, I'm going to choose Key West just to get away from the cold weather and just relax on a quiet beach right on the water just to kind of chill out and unwind a little bit. So right now, my answer would be Key West. But San Diego is definitely under consideration as well. All right, question number 2, again from Brian. This one hopping over to Snail here. Who is one player you think is going to have a good second half of the season? Brian says that he thinks Malkin can if he can get more consistent play from his wingers, whoever they may be.
I like that. Malkin can if he can get more consistent play from his winger. Boy, Riley Smith, he missed some time, but he's getting some flack on Twitter right now. I saw some rumblings, don't know how accurate they are. Of course, this is just rumor mill stuff I see on Twitter that Riley Smith has not bought into being a Penguin. They brought him over to be that consistent kind of up and down kind of winger for Malkin with some finishing ability. And he looked good like Malkin did at the beginning of the year. That line was clicking, but not a lot of consistency out of them lately. So to answer Brian's question though, this is, there's a lot to be desired from a lot of the depth pieces on this Penguins team. And the people that just from, of course, this is eye test. I don't have analytics. I don't see where numbers are trending right now. But based on just the games that I watch, someone that I think could have a monster second half of the season, and when I say monster, I mean monster for them and what they contribute. Like I don't think Malkin is going to all of a sudden pop off and just get back into the Hart conversation like he was in the first 2 weeks of the season. Lars Eller, his play has gotten, I would say, more consistent, and that dude's got a pretty wicked shot. And I think that maybe if you talk about Malkin getting some consistency out of his wingers, I think with the addition of Puljujarvi to that third line, I think I've seen Raquel getting some shifts with him. I think that line centered by Lars Eller, that third line with some scoring touch, and they're a pretty defensively, especially when Drew O'Connor's on that line, a pretty defensively sound line. I could see Lars Eller maybe being a guy that down the stretch is really contributing to this team's success. This is going to be a big, this is the second half of the season. This is going to be, every game is important. It's almost like every game is a must win. That depth is going to need to come through. I could see Lars Eller being important. Honestly, Puljujarvi, I mean, he hasn't really played at all since last season. I could see him, this is under Sullivan's system, which I criticize at times, but with his frame, his forechecking ability, maybe his net front presence, maybe getting some power play time on the first or second unit, just to see, I could see him being a big piece going forward too, if things go well. Robbie, anybody on your radar to pop off in the second part of the season?
I mean, I keep holding out for hope that he breaks through, but I'm going to say Rickard Rakell.
Oh, I mean, that's a good one.
Maybe I'm just wish casting at this point, but again, just at some point you have to think that the luck changes a little bit and he becomes just more consistent. So my 2 cents is Rickard Rakell. Fingers crossed that he just finds that touch enough in these last 35, 40 games to kind of get that goal scoring back, because he's such a big part of that top six.
Dude, Rickard Rakell, man, I did not foresee him becoming like this inconsistent. I mean, he's giving me Kapanen vibes.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Streaky. I mean, Kapanen would go goalless for like 20 games, and then he'd score a hat trick in like in just an awesome fashion, and then he'd go, quiet again. Ricard Raquel, things looked like they were trending the right way for him for a little bit there, and now he's just, I don't know what it is. That if the Penguins want to make a run, that with the money he's being paid and where he was kind of where he slotted in on as some not depth scoring. He's a top 6 winger. Like, he needs to start putting the puck in the net. So, yep, those are some decent options. Like you said, fingers crossed. We'll take anything at this point. Anyone to have a big second half of the season, honestly. Someone besides that first line.
Yeah.
All right, this question would be going to Garrett, but he is in the tattoo parlor currently. Brian asks, do you think Sully will be announced as the head coach for the U.S. for the 26 Olympic Games? He was supposed to be the coach for the 22 Olympics before it got canceled. And Garrett says that his money is on either Sullivan or David Quinn right now. Quinn serves as the head coach for the men's national team. Unless Team USA gives Sullivan the job as something of a make good, Quinn will probably remain in charge. Let's talk about this, Robbie. I believe they just came out with the general manager, and that's Bill Guerin for Team USA. Is that not correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so I don't think they've named the coach yet, and I don't think that they're going to name the coach anytime. Like, there's no urgency.
Yeah.
I think that Sullivan has to be the lock for Team USA.
Yeah, I think they're going to do right by him and give him that shot after the players did not go in 2022. And again, if you look at the NHL or the American coaching stable, there's a lot of good names there, but a lot of them are run through already. Peter Laviolette, John Tortorella, like those guys have been there, done that. With Dan Bylsma, but with limited to no success. So I think your obvious choice is Mike Sullivan. I just think that is for especially for a tournament as big as the Olympics. I think that Mike Sullivan is your guy there, and I think they're going to do well by him and give him that shot after he was denied that opportunity in 2022.
Yep, I agree with you. I guess this is like a little bit of a two-part question. Do you think that, or is Joel Quenneville American?
No, he's Canadian. He coached. He was an assistant with Mike Babcock on some Team Canada. Yeah.
All right, never mind. That nullifies my question. Let's move on. Let's see here, Robbie. This question is going over to you now. We're on question number 4. Brian asks, "What's the funniest moment in All-Star history?"
I mean, the Nikita Kucherov moment from the other night was pretty funny. His kind of half-assed attempt at the passing drill or whatever that was, and then egging on the crowd the next night in the All-Star game was actually kind of comical. The funniest, I don't know if there's a lot of All-Star games to talk about. I don't know if I can really pick out a single funny moment because, again, it feels kind of forced and contrived at this point, a lot of the All-Star festivities. So yeah, I mean, the Kucherov moment was one that people will talk about a lot just because it was kind of comical. He was in a division rivals stadium as well. The jokes after Toronto won, or the Toronto players team won in Toronto, was kind of funny simply because it was basically, well, it looks like the Leafs finally won something. They got the money. I don't know if there was a trophy or not, but yeah, I mean, nothing too funny sticks out. It's more of just we need to do something besides the All-Star game at this point.
What about Phil Kessel being picked last that one year? Or was that just sad?
That was just sad because at first it was like when it first happened, I think it was funny. And then they kind of just went way overboard with kind of talking about it. And it kind of, I think it was funny at first, and I think he kind of laughed at it. But then, I mean, when that's all you talk about and it becomes like a meme, I think it becomes less funny at that point.
Yeah, I could agree. I think looking back on it, maybe it's funnier than it was in the moment. Kind of cringe, actually, maybe in the moment.
Yeah. Okay, question number 5 from Brian for Snail, and he asked, "What's on Snail's hit list when he comes to Pittsburgh?"
Garrett's on my hit list.
Just Garrett.
When I get to Pittsburgh, which I'm plotting and scheming, I would like to get there this coming fall.
Okay.
My hit list is, of course, to hang with my esteemed colleagues and maybe have a big night out and just really rip it up. And my idea of ripping it up isn't like going to clubs and shit. I want to go to some. I want to go to some older, good
Hmm.
bars, like classic bars. I don't want to go to any shiny new toys. I don't want to go to a place where the music's too loud and you can't
Oh
have
yeah.
conversation. I want to go to some good old fashioned historic Pittsburgh bars where they've got country gold on the jukebox and we can drink Yinglings and have a couple shots of Jameson and maybe and just take in uh, the musk of Pittsburgh. That's on my list to do. Of course, go to a Penguins game. I got to see
Yeah.
PPG Paints Arena. I got to see, the boys in their environment. I've seen them here in Seattle. It's not the same.
Oh
And
no. Yeah.
I think another thing I'd like to probably do is um, I know that you guys have said that the rivers there's some tour you guys talked about it before. There's some I want to check out that river system, which there's I know Pittsburgh is like got the bridges and it's got the Allegheny, the Monongahela, is that what it's called?
Monongahela. Close.
Monongahela.
Yeah.
And then the what's the third one?
Allegheny, Monongahela, in the Ohio.
The Ohio River. Let's get a nice day on the river going or something. Let's go check, especially in the fall. It's going to be beautiful. The foliage, I'm all about that. Not, I'm a simple man, honestly, Brian. Like, I don't have you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I'm trying to just kind of take in the ambiance that is Pittsburgh. And with the biggest thing, just going to a hockey game at home, especially in the beginning of the season, see Sid in his environment, see Dubas up in his box. That would be big for me. Robbie, what would you suggest for like if I'm coming in the fall? What are some things that that maybe you would suggest doing for someone who's never been to Pittsburgh?
Well, the fall's a great time to come. It's not quite as muggy and hot and miserable. We have the National Aviary in Pittsburgh. That's just fun to. They're birds. I mean, you can go look at. It's just an indoor facility that's really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, we have the Heinz History Museum, which is basically
Ketchup museum?
No. Heinz sponsors it. It's a
I was
Pittsburgh.
like, man, mustard.
I
and
mean, I'm
ketchup
sure there's
museum?
history. There's history about Heinz in the museum, but it's more or less a Pittsburgh history museum, just in general. Yeah, I mean, even if you're here on a Steelers Sunday, go to a bar, watch a Steeler game at a bar, eat some pierogies, and have some beers. I mean, that's kind of the life. I mean, a lot of what's done in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's also a very we have a lot of they have a lot of parks. There's a lot of people riding bikes and getting around different ways. Again, that's because we don't have the world's greatest transit system, but there's a lot of good food to try out. I
gotta check out that Permanis.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a Pittsburgh staple.
Permanis and I guess just like I want to check out the infrastructure. Riding bikes around, walking around. That's a really good way to take in any foreign city. So, if that answers your question, hey Brian, maybe you could come meet up. Maybe we could all.
Brian will have to come meet up.
We'll have to have a Skating Penguin Network luncheon where we just get hammered. Sounds good to me though, Rob. Let's move on here to question number 6. This is going over to Garrett, right? Yep. Brian asks, admittedly, Graves has been bad, but let's remember when we signed Paul Martin as a UFA, he also struggled in his first season before really becoming a solid force on the back end. I actually miss Paul Martin. I don't know if I'm in the minority there, but when he went to San Jose, and what was the consensus in Pittsburgh before I get to Garrett's answer here quick? What was the consensus on Paul
so
Martin?
the consensus during his early stint in Pittsburgh was not good. Yeah, not good. We had a local blog that covered the Penguins had something called it was literally a competition they ran called the Paul Martin Power Play.
Oh, no.
And it was basically just if he scored a goal, I forget what they gave away exactly, but you basically had every game you had to pick when he would score, and then when he finally scored, because his goalless streak went on for like I can't even remember how long it was, but he was not a fan favorite when he first started here, but he really grew in to his role and the city, and they did love him in the end. It was really cool to see from start to finish.
Dude, this is like, admittedly, on NHL, I think it was NHL 14 or maybe it was 15. I would trade Letang for like a first line winger. And Paul Martin would run the power play for me on EA Sports NHL back then. He was actually really good in that game. But this is what Garrett had to say about that question from Brian. That has to be the hope of every Penguins fan right now. Graves' first season has been anything but a success. Here's hoping he can find a more permanent consistency, or we could be talking about that contract being part of a salary dump-esque trade shortly. I think we're all on the same page.
Yep.
Unfortunately. Graves has not been... he's kind of been in the doghouse from I see on Twitter. Deservedly. All right, going over to you, Rob, here with question number 7. This is an interesting one because I know you really like sports, and your favorite sports teams I don't know, are the Penguins your favorite sport team?
Yeah.
Okay. Brian asks, you can bring back any retired player in their prime to your favorite sports team, but they'd replace the current best player at their position. Who's your pick? That's a dicey one for the Penguins.
If I wouldn't have thought that, if I was immediately going to be like Mario Lemieux.
Yeah. But give up Sid.
So I need Carlson retired. It would have to be. So it has to be retired. So I can't say Jaromir Jagr because he's not technically retired yet. Man, because I'm just trying it's so hard with the Penguins because I can bring back a legit
Would
I could say
Barrasso over.
Nah, man, he's such an asshole.
Jari?
He's such an asshole. I wish Fleury was retired and I could say Fleury.
Yeah, that'd be an easy one.
Defenseman, you can't because I can't get rid of Letang or Carlson.
Yeah, would you have Paul Coffey over Letang and Carlson?
I mean, Coffey was such a freak show.
He was.
That I get if you replace Paul Coffey, if you say Paul Coffey, you're basically replacing one of those two, but you still have the
one. Yeah.
But you still have the other one. So whoever you would determine is the best, because you can make a case that Letang has been their best defenseman this year.
He is. I think
you'd still have Carlson, or vice versa. You'd still have Letang, because if I'd say like Kevin Stevens, I'd have to get rid of like Jake Gensel. I don't know if that was because Gensel is a pure goal scorer.
He is.
Francis was a center. Jagr, I would be willing to trade off Jagr for Gensel, but I can't. Yager's not technically retired yet.
Right.
So I guess I'd have to say Paul Coffey.
I think that's the safe bet, actually, now that because you'd be replacing Letang with Paul Coffey, and then you would have a 1-2 punch of Paul Coffey. Yeah,
Carlson. I mean, that's your biggest, you'd hate to get rid of one of these guys, but your replacement is Paul Coffey.
Do you think anyone out there would take Mario Lemieux over Sid?
Why take one vacation with the family when you could take all of them? With Royal Caribbean, you don't just go to the beach. You visit a private island and race down the tallest water slide in North America. You don't just go for a road trip. You ATV and zip line through the jungle. You don't just go somewhere new. You rappel down waterfalls and discover ancient temples. Because this isn't just any vacation. This is all the vacations. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
Dude, Mario Lemieux in Ovi's office with Malkin on the other side.
Yeah, in his prime.
Yeah,
I'm so attached to Crosby. It's really hard for me to say again. And I'm a guy that I love Chris Letang, and I've very much enjoyed having Erik Karlsson on the team. But Paul Coffey, if you're going for pure bang for your buck, it has to be Coffey replacing. Take your pick, and then you keep Malkin or Letang.
The Penguins have been so, they've had the luxury of having so many good players that fortunately it is like a tough decision on who it is that you give
Yeah.
up. But either
Why
way,
can't I be like the San Jose Sharks and like they're all terrible and just like let me pick Joe Thornton?
yeah, Joe Thornton is the one guy.
All right, question number 8 for Snell here. This is from Brian. Are they all from? They're all from Brian, so we don't have to differentiate in this episode. What was your reaction to the announcement of NHL players in the 2026 and 2030 Olympics? My only hope is they figure out how to get Russia's participation. Seems incomplete without them.
I agree with that 100%. That if Russia's not a part of it, it's not a true best on best. It's not. It shouldn't. It's not even really the Olympics. I know that they're in trouble for their doping scandal, but if it's regarding politics and stuff, I mean, I would be very disappointed if they can't find a way. I don't think that's on the table though. Like I haven't heard that Russia's not allowed.
So Russia has been banned from competing as Russia, not for the Ukraine stuff, but for the doping stuff as a confederation. But they can compete under whatever they're called at that time. It's been like the Olympic Athletes of Russia.
Yeah.
It's been Russian Olympic Committee. So they just cannot so they have Russia has not missed an Olympics yet. They had now again stuff like the World Juniors and stuff that's operated by a different organization. So that's not the IOC. The IOC, as far as I can tell, has not banned them from any competitions. So they, as far as I'm concerned, they will be there. It just will not likely be as your prototypical Russian flag, Russian crest, and stuff like that. But my guess is they will be at both of those Olympics.
Okay, well, I think that you want to see that. Like that'll be a juggernaut of a team. My reaction though when they announced the Olympics coming up in the coming years, initially I was like, okay, about time. But then I immediately was just like, man, I feel like of course the world was shut down. We know that COVID kind of, there would have been a major issue with COVID. They did do an Olympics during the COVID, like COVID years, I guess you could call it. And it just sounded difficult. I think it was hard for a lot of these athletes to give up what they had going on to go over for this. It sounded dicey over there. I just think that you missed like a real opportunity for hockey, of course, with Sid. There was just so many superstars in their twilight years, and like you have like veterans like Sid and his peers with the up and coming McDavids, the McKinnons, the Matthews, the Kachucks. I just feel like there was a really, really, really good opportunity for like a true, like, I don't know, like something you haven't seen in a long time. There, like, would you agree, Robbie, that there was with where McDavid was at and where Sid was at in their playing careers, that could have been some of the best international hockey ever displayed, I think, with just the way the game is played. So I immediately was just kind of feeling sorry for myself. It just kind of felt bad. I was like, man, that kind of sucks. But I believe that when the Olympics is popping off and like hockey's in a good place, and I am excited still for that to happen. Robbie, are you pumped for some Olympic hockey with actual NHLers? Because it's been a long time.
Yeah, by that point it'll be 26. I think 2014 was the last game they were at. So they've missed 2 Olympic games, and I mean, as a fan of the sport, absolutely, definitely. And the time difference between here and Italy should give us some like morning-ish afternoon games, so we should be able to get some good prime viewing in. I know with work and stuff it might be hard, but just carry a TV with you to work, or you can stream stuff from anywhere in these days. So I watch it, put it on one screen, work on the other, and get going.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. I mean, we've made the best, I think, out of the last Olympics. Trying to get in. At least I made an effort to watch and really pay attention. But these players, these prideful NHL players with the skill and everything that they bring, and they really get up for these international events. And there's always some unsung hero. There's always there's some drama. You know, I love a good Canadian versus U.S. game. There's nothing like that. So
Yeah, absolutely.
bring it on. All right, Robbie. This question's going over to Garrett. You can read his answer here. We're at question 9, I believe. Okay, do you think training with Sid all those years in the off season is the reason for Nate Dogg taking his game to another level?
Garrett said, "R.I.P. to the real Nate Dogg," whatever that means.
I think the rapper.
Oh, I guess. I think McKinnon was already considered an otherworldly talent. That is correct. Hence the first overall draft selection. But becoming friends with one of the game's greatest ever players, not to take anything away from McKinnon, it's surely going to help more than hurt when it comes to training and honing the craft. And I mean, I think it gets to build off of this. I think they both have gotten better by working with each other. I mean, it doesn't. I know Crosby's obviously the greatest of his generation, but going up against a guy like that every day in the summer, a guy with that skill level, is only going to help you as well refine those skills that need refined.
Oh yeah, it reminds me of like any like comic book story or like anime or something. It's just like when an elite hero trains with his predecessor. It's just, it benefits them both, and I mean, they're both so competitive. You know that it's made them better. It definitely has done more good than bad.
Absolutely.
All right, Robbie. Question 10. Do you think it was a mistake not re-signing Ryan Poehling, who's having a decent year over in Philadelphia? I thought he could have been a decent bottom 6 guy if he could stay healthy. Seems like every year someone has the Bo Bennett curse, and he unfortunately took it from Zucker.
Yeah, obviously last year he was in and out of the lineup, and unfortunately out more than in. But I liked what Ryan Poehling brought. He speed, had some scoring touch, would not have been expensive, and I think if you look at where the Penguins are at now, it would have been a better option than maybe Noel Acciari, and that's nothing against Acciari. I just think that maybe Poehling, for what the Penguins want to do, would have been a better fit with his speed and scoring touch. But I mean, Acciari can kill penalties. He's tough as nails, but Poehling's one that I don't want to say maybe the one that got away, because it's tough to say that about a depth guy unless they go and just completely light it up. But I think he served his purpose and would have been fine in a fourth line role. All right, question number 11. A bit of an odd one here, but for Snail, maybe Snail has an answer here. What was the first person to milk a cow trying to do? Why was their next step to drink it? Sounds like the Riddler.
Well, actually, I know that this is supposed to be funny, but I'm going to give you a little bit of info here. I have a milk.org here has a little fact for you guys. Through analyzing degraded fats on unearthed pot shards, scientists have discovered that Neolithic farmers in Britain and Northern Europe may have been among the first to begin milking cattle for human consumption. The dairying activities of these European farmers may have begun as early as 6,000 years ago. So, I think that there's two things that could have happened. I think someone could have just been outright curious and wanted to latch on to that udder. Or there was a very desperate moment in time. Someone was starving and they saw a baby cow, partaking, and they said, "Move over. There's a few of those on there. Let me saddle up to this here bar stool and join you." And they were like, "I didn't die. I didn't get sick. My tummy's full. Everybody, come drink from the fountain." And that's how it happened. Robbie, what do you think?
I mean, you have to think a lot. Like, what was the idea of grabbing the udder and squeeze? Like, I don't know. I mean, you had
curiosity was involved.
There had to. You'd think there'd be some curiosity, and you don't know what the curiosity kills the cat, as they say. But a bit of I mean, I don't even really know, where do you even kind of go with that? I mean, I mean, I'm going to suck this teat and see what comes out. I don't know. I mean, maybe somebody had a little too much mead, and decided he got a little too wound up and
Found himself in the pasture.
found old Bessie over there and decided that she looked a little too. She was looking good on some Friday night and decided to he needed a swig. And I mean. Yeah,
That could have definitely been it too. The mead back then was potent. I'm sure.
Yeah, you think the mead's potent today. The mead back then was basically what we call rubbing alcohol today.
Gasoline.
But, whew. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a very fun riddle because you have to there's a lot of things like that. Like, the first person that found oil, can you imagine digging in your yard and all of a sudden this black sludge starts coming up? What are you going to do with it? I mean,
that guy probably owns half the world and all.
He probably does. Yeah. If you were the first person to find oil, it's probably Saudi Arabia. So that's probably why they own the entire country.
Exactly. They own a lot of things.
Yeah.
Golf is doing pretty good because someone found oil a long time ago in their yard. Well, Brian, I hope that answers your question, and I hope that's maybe thought-provoking and gives you some insight on where we're going with this whole thing. But, they've been drinking from the cow's teat for 6,000 years, they say. So put yourself in their shoes. All right, question number 12, going over to Garrett here. Brian asks, or he says here, Arn Dog, Wit, and the Spittin' Chicklets boys recently talked about how to fix the Pens power play and suggested letting Erik Karlsson be free and roam around in the zone. Clearly need more movement on it to disrupt the defense and don't make it easy for them. And Garrett here says, Robbie, do you have it up?
Yeah. He said, Snail and I have talked about this very thing on the previous two mailbags, and I stand by what I said, and I agree with Snail and everyone else. Let Karlsson be the offensive force we know he can be. Sure, he's going to make some boneheaded plays every now and again, but when you employ one of the greatest defensemen in modern history, let him play to his strengths.
Robbie, where are you at with that?
I mean, shoot the puck. You got to start with shooting the puck. They're too pass happy. They don't got guys that want to shoot the puck. Now, again, I liked what I saw on Tuesday night against Winnipeg on that 5-minute power play. So I can't complain too much. I mean, you got guys down underneath. You got your gritty goal scorers. Carter, who's not afraid to stand in front of the net. Rust, who is not afraid to deflect pucks or get a little dirty when he needs to be. So I keep putting Jeff Carter on one of those units. I keep Ryan Rust out there. And I don't mind spreading the wealth a little bit between the two units, even if it's just to break the monotony of how bad it was. But just start getting pucks on net and let those guys up front cook. Because more often than not, they're going to bounce off something. One of those guys is going to find it, and they're both skilled around the net. You have a lot of guys that are great around the net, and that's not just Russ and Carter. Gensel's good around the net. Crosby's good around the net. Just get the puck down there and let it find one of their sticks.
A lot of guys that are good in front of the net on this Penguins team, but on the power plays, they just really keep it on the perimeter. And it's not by force. It seems that they just pass it around the outside and look for a cross-seam pass, and it gets broken up. I think everyone here is in favor of shooting the puck. And if Karlsson's the one to generate the offense, you have that tool in your tool belt. Why not let him run?
Absolutely.
All right, Rob. Question going over to you. This is number 13, and Brian asks, I believe Robbie said he was a Penn State alumni.
Damn.
So just wondering if he or any of you guys watched the Chicklets University on Penn State hockey Spittin' Chicklets dropped on their YouTube page.
I have not watched it yet because I kind of completely forgot about it until this question came up. So I will have to watch that. Again, the journey from a club level team to a Division I level team. They've been in the tournament a couple of times, and it's been pretty impressive to watch. State of the art facilities, and really just keep building toward the future.
Do you have a pride, alumni pride for being a Nittany Lion?
Oh, I have a ton of Nittany Lion pride. Absolutely.
Do you ever watch the hockey games?
Yeah, I try to watch as many as possible. Sometimes when they're playing like lower competition, they're on like a streaming service you have to pay for, so I don't necessarily get to watch them. But they're usually on Big Ten Network, that I can stream from my cable subscription. So I do get to watch a fair amount of games, and then sometimes they go national, but it's mostly just on Big Ten network. So, but I do watch as many games as I can.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. I haven't watched that Chicklets University on it, but I am curious. Any notable NHLers ever come out of Penn State?
No, Penn State. They've had some guys go to the NHL, but nobody of note yet.
Did Lafferty go there?
No, Lafferty went to Brown.
Oh, is Lafferty from Pittsburgh?
Hollidaysburg, which is it's actually closer to State College than Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I was thinking. All right. Let's see, where are we at?
Sorry. Question 14 for Snell here.
Oh, yeah.
Does Frank Seravalli's comment about Sid also annoy you? How dare he speak about our captain negatively when he's done so much for the game and constantly giving his time to children in hospitals?
So yeah, Seravalli had some choice words for Sidney Crosby on not going to the NHL All-Star Draft while he was up in Montana on the ODR, putting on a clinic just by himself. Looked like he was just having a good time. I don't know why. Do we know why he was there? I think it was just leisurely, wasn't it?
There was also he did something with a animal refuge up there as well.
Oh yeah, looking at
there's a video on the Penguins Twitter account. That they basically it was one of the inside look at what Crosby was doing over the All-Star break, and they were traveling with him, and they kind of explained what all he did. So go check that out. But he did skate outside, obviously, but there's other stuff he did as well. So you can go check that out. They have kind of the full explanation, but I think it was just Seravalli being bitter,
being a baby. It's like, again, you mean. Brian here talks about what he's done for the game and for what he, his charitable acts. Sid is a very selfless individual. He's a pro's pro. I just think it was a super out-of-pocket comment and kind of a moment that I'm sure Seravalli at this point maybe wishes he walked his comments back, because ultimately Sid is there shaking hands, kissing babies. I mean, dude, you're lucky the guy's not even just taking his 1-game suspension and showing up to this event. But he is Canadian royalty pretty much at this point, and it's been I think this is his first time being at an All-Star game that takes place in Canada. He showed up. I mean, he wasn't even in the skills competition. He was there hanging out with Bedard, kind of shooting around. But to say the least, it annoys me. But I mean, what do you expect from a guy like Frank Seravalli? That dude. The talking heads up there in Canada, like they get
he's from Philadelphia.
He is.
Yeah, he's actually American. He's from Philadelphia. He covered the Flyers for many years for I can't remember the outlet, but yeah, he's from Philadelphia.
Maybe that's why he got so worked up, is because he's a
You want to know
guy.
what's really funny? And this isn't he's actually younger than Sid.
Oh my god. I think I must have read that somewhere, because that sounds familiar. Dude, that guy Sid is like a Greek god compared to him.
Yeah, and, Sid looks, yeah.
Take a look at Frank Seravalli's mug and then compare it to Sid and just understand that guy's younger than him. Tough look, though, for Frank. I think we all share the same sentiment. Tough look for him, out of pocket. Go cry elsewhere about. I mean, there's other things you could cry about that, are probably more worthwhile. Certainly Sid's not listening. No. All right, let's see. Last question. This one would be going over to Garrett, I believe, here. And Brian asks, do you think now that Lindholm has been acquired by the Vancouver Canucks for the players that were mainly involved in a trade for Jake, people will shut up about him being moved? Trading him makes the team now worse and the future not much brighter. Let's see. Garrett says, LOL, even though I may have flipped sides in the trade Gensel saga, I agree with Brian. Trading him now not only is a disservice to Sid and hurts the team now, but I'm not sure how much the future of the team can hinge on a potential return for Jake Gensel, who, if he gets traded, is going to a contending team, meaning you're getting a pretty weak draft pick and maybe a decent but not elite prospect in return. No thanks. Robbie, where are we at?
I'm still on the not trade Gensel train. I really just don't think they're going to be in a position that they're out of it by the trade deadline. Again, unless they completely fall off. And again, I think the momentum is in the direction of the Penguins re-signing Gensel. So I believe until all your options are exhausted on that front, you don't trade him.
Agree. I think it's ridiculous to keep, unless the Penguins absolutely soil themselves and they are in the Buffalo Sabres Ottawa territory by the trade deadline, which I think would be almost impossible for them to do. Never say never, but I mean the trade deadline's in it's in a month exactly.
Yeah, the 5th. Yeah,
there's
5th,
only I think 5th, 8th, whatever.
Something like that.
There's only so many games they can play in between now and then, and they started off their return from the break pretty well. We saw in that last game. I think that some of their competition is, it's not like they're playing bottom feeder teams coming up here, but the Penguins looked good. Let's just hope they keep riding this train. Again, this is going to come down to the wire. I think we all feel it, that this season is going to be kind of similar to last year. They're going to be in the hunt up until the last game probably. So it does get annoying though, doesn't it, Robbie? Like, it's been a long time since the Penguins have been on this side of things where teams see them as a carcass that they can pick at, and you see all these mock trades of like, we'll give you all of our bad players for one of your good players, or the old the first round pick is worth so much, we'll give you that, and then a roster ready player, which means probably a bottom six, maybe a fourth line, sometimes just healthy scratch kind of guy. It does sting to read that kind of stuff, but like I said, it's been a while since the Penguins were in this position and on this side of things as far as chatter online goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Rob, that wraps up our mailbag. 15 questions down. We got 2 Penguins games coming up, mini Winnie back to back. We'll be doing some sort of game recap, whether it comes out on Saturday or maybe on Sunday. We'll record it and release it. That's all I got. Rob, you got any final thoughts on today's pod?
No, I got nothing else. I think we did a pretty good job. No Garrett. Maybe Garrett will be back next week, hopefully. But until then, I got nothing. Snail, if you have anything, you can wrap her up.
I'll wrap it up. Yeah, excited to see what kind of monstrosity Garrett has paid for someone to paste on his body. I cannot wait for that photo to hit the group chat. I'm praying for a lower back piece, something ridiculous. But I think we all know what it is. It's got to do with Blink-182.
Yeah.
Until next time, what does Garrett always say? For Robbie Noggle, I have been Snail, and we will talk to you guys very soon.